The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, is the final Hobbit film in the trilogy, and the last film set in Middle-earth, starting with 2001's Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, ending now with this final Hobbit movie. And so, is this a good final send-off to Lord of the Rings fans and fans of Lord of the Rings trilogy, as well as the Hobbit story? Yes and no, but more thankfully yes than there is no. As a film, it's not really the best movie you're going to see this year, but it is very much a very good conclusion to the Lord of the Rings franchise, and a nice bookend to the Hobbit trilogy, segueing into the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So I'm going to start off with positive, my negatives, and then I'm going to go back to my positives to round things out. So some positives in the story are the acting. The acting is very, very good in this movie. Everyone knows their roles. Ian McKellen even played the role in his sleep. He played Gandalf. This is his 6th time playing Gandalf, so the dude knows his role. He kills it. Bilbo Baggins, whoever cast Martin Freeman was a genius and saw something. He knows it. By the 3rd time around, he knows Bilbo. He knows the character well. But the real star of this is Richard Armitage as Thorin. This is very much Thorin's story and his journey and his conclusion to his story arc. Another positive of the film is, in my mind, the pacing. The pacing was actually much better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was sheer action from start to finish. But there was plenty of slow down and get some good character moments. And amidst the battle, there were some very good character moments that helped make you care more about these characters and not just, oh, they're fighting this, that, and the other thing. Once again, it's Peter Jackson directed, so you have gorgeous landscape shots as well as big sweeping armies and great battle action sequences. But, and this leads into some of my negatives, the main distinction between the Lord of the Rings trilogy and this Hobbit trilogy is the action looks not nearly as crisp as it did in Lord of the Rings. I really want to try and avoid comparing, because I know a lot of people will compare these two trilogies, and they're very different in their own right. But in the sheer look, it looks kind of video game-ish at times. Everything doesn't look very real, and it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't flow as well when it doesn't look real. Your eye can see that it's not real. Another weakness of the film is the romance in it. If you saw the last Hobbit movie, they tried to have a romantic relationship dynamic in this film with 2 of the characters, and they expound more upon this in this movie, but it really doesn't work. It's very, very cheesy. I don't want to say Attack of the Clones cheesy, but yeah, it's not that bad, but it's only a couple levels below that. It is very cheesy, but thankfully it's not a prevalent thing. There are several cheesy moments where you're just like, bye-bye, logic, see you next week, maybe. It's a bit out there, even for a Lord of the Rings movie, but that comes with the action and adventure and fairy tale aspect of that, I guess. And my last negative really is there are several moments and characters that are either shown or mentioned that kind of felt a little shoehorned into the movie, like they really didn't need to be there, but it was just like, you saw Lord of the Rings. We're going to make sure you remember that, because you're a good fan. You know that. You know what we're referencing, even though they really don't need to be referenced. There's some characters that weren't in the book, and if their scenes were cut from the movie, I don't think it would really be that different. And so I would have just liked to leave them out, and so we could focus on the characters that we're supposed to care about, like Thorin and Bilbo, obviously. Now, to close off, there was some definite good positives to round out the movie. Most importantly, the conclusion. The conclusion brought it full circle. I'm not going to lie, the ending, it wasn't so much... It was ended very quickly, as opposed to Return of the King's 6 or 7 endings that it had. And I was expecting a little bit more from the ending, but I was okay with it. But it was still very, very bittersweet, and it was hard to watch at times, I'm not going to lie, because you are saying goodbye to Middle-earth, and this is your last time. And if you've grown to love the characters like I have in terms of you've seen these movies so many times, and they're great films. You become attached to the characters and to this world, and this is going to be the last time. And I feel like the cast and crew and Peter Jackson himself know that, and so they really strive to make it a great ending. The movie itself isn't anything spectacular on its own, but it leads perfectly into Fellowship of the Ring. Like, perfectly. I actually really want to watch the first Hobbit all the way up to Return of the King, all in one sitting, because it flows so well together. And it has a very good conclusion. As a Lord of the Rings fan, I was very happy seeing this movie, and especially seeing the end. It was very much a last hug goodbye, like the sailing ship to the Grey Havens. And especially if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you'll want to stay for the end credits. There's no end credit scene like it would be for a Marvel movie, but it is one of the most gorgeous end credits I've seen in a very long time. It felt very much like a very nice and meaningful goodbye from the director. There's some gorgeous art, as well as one of the most beautiful and sad songs at the same time. And it just really was a nice culmination. So, I would very much recommend this movie to any Lord of the Rings fan, or even if you just like action movies, because this was a very good installment. It is arguably the best installment of the Hobbit trilogy. So, my score is a 7 out of 10 for this film. It's a solid film. Yes, it does have some weaknesses, but there's more canceled out by the Lord of the Rings lore and the established good that the previous movies and the Lord of the Rings has set up. And it was a very, very good and meaningful send-off to the Lord of the Rings franchise. And so, Peter Jackson, we take our hats off to you and say thank you for your contribution to Middle-earth. Farewell. So, you guys going to go see this movie, or are you not? Are you sick of this franchise? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you see and you want to see more, go to facebook.com/movieguy17 or Twitter @nmovieguy17. Thank you, Peter Jackson.